And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel. And this
Melody.
is Melody.
Today we're reviewing an expansion of Legendary Paint the Town Red.
Paint the Town Red. That can mean only one thing, and that's Spider-Man. Although normal Spider-Man is not in this game, although two Spider-Men are. That's Spider-Man with the black symbiote costume, who does not go dancing for no reason at all and be irritating. But there is also Scarlet Spider, who's a very awesome character. And then three other heroes in this game. We'll take a look at them. A couple villains, a couple new things. Here we go. All right, let's take a look at some of the heroes that come in this deck. First, we have the symbiote Spider-Man, the black costume Spider-Man. And just like the original Spider-Man in the game of Marvel Legendary, all his cards have a cost of 2. So it's very similar. He's almost like an alternate Spider-Man. But he does have a special ability on his cards called Wall Crawl. Wall Crawl means when you buy this card, you put it on top of your deck. So essentially, you're going to get it the turn after you buy it, which makes his cards very useful. And like, for example, this one gives you 1 fighting, but it gives you +1 for each other hero you played this turn that costs 1 or 2. So this could be this is a cheap card that has the possibility to become very powerful. Or this one here is a very powerful card, but you have to discard 2 other cards. However, if you mix this with the possibility of drawing extra cards, can be very nice for power for 2, especially early in the game. Spider-Woman, hopefully not an alien Skrull Queen, has a very similar card. That's a 3 ability, but you have to discard a card to use it. Here's one I like a lot. It's 2 fighting, and you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's fighting, you can draw it. So it's a kind of a draw 1 card, and it also has the Wall Crawl on it also, so that makes it useful. Another Wall Crawl. It's similar to the one I just showed you, except this one, if it shows you the money icon, you draw it. And then her very powerful card here, 7, is great, which lets you recruit a hero from the headquarters for free. And you can even put it on top of your deck. It gives you kind of a wall crawl ability. This is a fantastic card. Of course, by the time you can buy it, you probably can buy most of the heroes anyway. But still, being able to get one every time this card comes up, very useful ability. Black Cat's in the game. This is, and I'm not sure, this seems to be the cheapest powerful card in the game. Because essentially it lets you reveal the top card of any player's deck, and you get fighting equal to that card's printed money plus its printed fighting value. Well, that's almost a guaranteed 1, at least, unless you draw a wound or something. But other than that, could be very, very powerful. You know, for example, you mix that with this Spider-Man card that you know someone has in their deck, you draw that. This is a 4, and it costs 1 here. She also has Wall Crawl cards herself and has the ability to do some neat things. Everyone draws the top card of their deck and you choose those cards to be discarded. So it lets you mess with other people. I tend to play Legendary as a very cooperative game, so that's not so useful, but still 3 for 5 is a pretty handy one. And her big card, everyone reveals a hero, or they choose a bystander from their victory pile. You steal those bystanders from them, and then you're +1. So even, let's say you steal 1 bystander from somebody, that still makes this a 6 attack, a very useful card, although it does cost 8. Then we have the Scarlet Spider. What a great guy here. Has a very cheap card, but if you play with another spider card to draw a card. A Wall Crawl. This one is just a straight up 1 fight, draw a card, very useful to have. 3 fight, but it could possibly be 5 fight. And then his powerful card, which works really well when mixed with all the different wall cards. Whenever you put a card on top of your deck, you can draw that card. Not to mention, it's a 5 attack. And then finally we have Moon Knight. He's also a wall crawler apparently. And you can reveal a card from your deck. If it's one of those 2 things, you can draw it. This is another useful, even though the 3 attack for 5 is not bad. And his powerful card, when you defeat a villain on the rooftops, you rescue bystanders. And then you can move a villain to the rooftops to deliberately fight it there. But regardless of all that, 6 attack for 8, a useful thing to have. The game also comes with some more schemes. Here's one that kind of works with the Sinister Six, which is included in this set, and Weave a Web of Lies, which forces you to rescue bystanders to fight the bad guy. The Clone Saga has kind of the idea with the clones, if two villains of the same name escape, you lose, which is a really tough thing. You're watching and you're killing villains just so that doesn't happen. And it also, every time the scheme twists, if you don't have two heroes with the same name, you discard down to 3, which will make everyone at the table very irritable. And then this is probably my favorite scheme of this new set, where basically you're going to have henchmen in the hero deck, and they show up, and when the twists come, you're going to move villains into the headquarters. So you have to fight the villains and knock them out of your headquarters too. That's a neat thing, and I like that a lot, even though apparently your headquarters are the Daily Bugle. But whatever. Here's one of the 2 masterminds included in the set, Mysterio. Now, Mysterio's basically his special ability, when Master Strikes come, they get shuffled into his deck, and so you have to defeat him multiple times. Not just 4 times, but more than that, maybe up to 8 times. You have to fight Mysterio. And interestingly enough, like this one here, if this is not the final tactic, when you draw this one and fight him, you will take a Master Strike tactic from each other player. So you could fight him multiple times. As of course, this is the last time you beat him. And if this one's not the last one, you turn over the top 5 cards of the villain deck and you add all the Master Strikes to Mysterio. Mysterio's not a hard guy to beat. He's only an 8 fighting. But this constant reappear makes him a pretty cool mastermind. Even if he wouldn't have been one of the masterminds I would have thought to put in the game. He has the Sinister Six who come with him, Kraven the Hunter, who's equal to the highest hero in the headquarters, Sandman, who's double the strength of all the villains in the city, which means he gets stronger and stronger, Chameleon, who copies the effects of a hero underneath him, Shocker, Hobgoblin, and Vulture. Then the other villain in the set is Carnage. Everyone hates Carnage, a terrible, terrible guy. He has Feast. That's what Master Strike. Now, Feast means when Feast happens, the player who fights someone Feast just basically loses the top card of their deck, which could be really nasty and dangerous. And he has a lot of different cards that all are feasting, and when he feasts, he does a lot of damage to you. He comes with his Maximum Carnage people, Doppelganger, who feasts and is equal to the person on the headquarters underneath him. The Demo Goblin, who also feasts, Shriek, and Carrion. They all different feasting, making you lose cards from your deck. So these are the different cards included in this expansion. First thing you should know is that Melody and I both love Legendary. Well, at least I love it. You like it too?
I love Legendary.
Yeah, Legendary is just a really fun game. We played it quite a few times. And this one has 2 good villains, I think. They're not, unlike previous ones where the villains have been super hard, these villains are in the medium range. Mysterio is not that hard to fight, but he just keeps coming back and back. You have to fight him a lot of times. And there's a possibility that he can escape and cause all sorts of problems. Carnage is just nasty. That Feast thing is so scary from all the villains, because they might take that top card of the deck and flip it over and you lose it and you're hoping, please don't be a good hero.
I remember we did that once. Well, it wasn't Carnage, but it was a bad guy. It did a feast and it did a wound. It got a wound.
Yeah, now that made you happy, right? And so the feast ability, a lot of these new bad guys and the Sinister Six, which does seem odd with Doc Ock not in it, but that's because he's in a different thing. The Sinister Six and Carnage's guys, as a big fan of the Spider-Man comic books, this really hits home for me. These are all the characters that I know and love. I wouldn't have minded if they added like some special bystanders, like put Mary Jane and Aunt May and did some bystanders. That would have been cool. And I also like the new things, although that clone one, as we found out, can be really annoying.
Oh.
Really annoying, but but it felt somewhat thematic. I think this is a solid expansion. Doesn't add anything super new. It adds Feast and the
Wall Crawl.
Wall Crawl, yes. Now that Wall Crawl is probably my favorite new thing that they've added to Legendary. Don't you think it really changes it up? What did you think of Wall Crawl?
I really liked Wall Crawl, especially if you were lucky and you needed a special symbol and you put that on the deck and drew at the same time.
Right, because you could deliberately set yourself up for future turns by putting cards in the top that you need to draw. And if you play with all the heroes in this one, they all have Wall Crawl. And so you're just like putting cards on top of your deck. You can set up a lot of combos. If you play with all the heroes here, most of them are very cheap.
True, they are. There's one extremely cheap person who was really strong.
Yeah, that's the one I showed in the video. Some of these cards are really cool, and I like it. It adds a fun thing, but it mixes with the other stuff too. And of course, we're going to play this with the original Spider-Man from Legendary, mix him in the mix and mix stuff up to see how it goes. So if you like Spider-Man, you're going to like this set, I think, a lot. It adds some new stuff without being overly complex. So for me, a very solid thumbs up. What are your final thoughts?
I really liked it. I remember when I first played it with some friends of mine, and we did not do well at first, and then we ended up winning. It was fun.
That's the best thing about Legendary. I like it because you feel like you're going to lose.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, what are we going to do? And then you come back, and we will put you in your place.
Losing. We played the Clone Saga thingy. We almost died like 20 times.
But we prevailed, or you prevailed, and the good guys won. So anyway, that's Paint the Town Red.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There.